Hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Top Floor Podcast. This is the Denver edition, and today I get to welcome Mr. Paul Wegman, CEO of Nova Automation. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, thank you, Darren. Great to be here.
All right. So, because I don't know your business better than you, obviously, tell us a little bit about what you and your company do.
Sure. As you mentioned, name of the business is Nova Automation. We're a factory automation company. So what we do specific to factory automation is automate end-of-line packaging, specifically bag filling, case packing, product conveyance, palletizing, stretch wrapping, and then also we do a lot of full pallet conveyance as well.
All right. And I know we were talking beforehand. So for those listening, at least the way we're doing it here in Denver is Paul and I had a chance to connect a week or so ago and get acquainted, and here we are today. And I was interested in your story, Paul, because if I have it correct, and you'll keep me honest, is you joined or acquired a company that had a founder and you have a partner, and I'm curious about that story and how it came to be.
Sure, absolutely. It's a great story and still unfolding as we continue to kind of write chapters of this book, if you will. I was in grad school down in Texas, went to McCombs Executive MBA program down there, where I met my business partner. His name's Doug Adesi, so he's the COO of our business. And he knew that I was looking to start or buy a business when we were going through business school. And he had come across this business and was doing business with Nova as part of his current job. He was at a company that does mining operations, and they were bagging various mine products, milled and mine products. And he said, hey, Paul came to me and said, I know you're looking to buy or start a business. I know a company in Denver that does packaging automation. Are you interested in maybe partnering up and looking at this opportunity? So Doug and I started looking at this opportunity beginning of 2017, ended up closing on the business in April of 2018. And over that year, a little more than a year, we had spent a lot of time getting to know the founder of the business. His name's Voit Karpala. And I would say what's really unique in our story, that's different from a lot of acquisition stories, is that the founder, Voit, actually stayed on with us. So it's kind of the three of us as partners in the business and are running it today. So Voit focuses on engineering, Doug focuses on operations, I focus on sales, customer side of things. And we kind of tag team finance and strategy. But that's really unique to have the founder stick around after an acquisition. And to be completely honest, we got lucky. I mean, he's a phenomenal guy, and we love working together, and the three of us make a really good team.
Okay. All right. So I want to pull on this thread a little bit, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So I work as an executive coach and work with a lot of founders, executive teams, leaders, etc. One of the things that comes up undoubtedly is team culture or team dynamics. And then for those at the top of the food chain, how that rolls down to the company to make company culture. So here you and Doug come in. And was it Voit?
Yeah, Voit, Voit.
Okay. So here you and Doug come in, acquire or join Voit. Voit's got an established company. And I'm curious, how did you and Doug first and foremost integrate into the firm? And then I'm curious, with the founder who established the company, how did the new culture unfold?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think many different layers to that, and a few missteps to kind of the transition that we made, and unfolding and kind of rolling out the culture, if you will. Prior to Doug and I coming on board, the business had a very call it small business feel, right? Information was closely held, wasn't a lot of data for the employees to see, a lot of progress reports or updates. So when we bought the business, we quickly brought that to the table, and it was like, all right, here's the new owners, the new operators, the new leadership of the company. And honestly, we probably could have been a little bit more graceful with that transition. because the founder was still here and still had a lot of credibility and a lot of loyalty. And, so there was I would say some bumps in the road as, feelings were stressed a little bit, emotions were stressed a little bit as we worked through that. But, I think at the end, the embedded culture that was Nova when we purchased it in April of 2018 was a really hardworking, fun culture, because the founder is a very hardworking, fun guy, great sense of humor, very spiritual person, brings just great energy to the business on a regular basis. So, one of my pet peeves is minimize negativity, and also accountability. I should say two of my pet peeves. And so a lot of that was already here. I would say we just kind of put a spotlight on that piece of it and really establish, and you can see it behind me on the wall here, our mission, vision, and values. And we establish, formal mission, vision, and values for the company by going out, talking to a bunch of the employees. I think we interviewed probably almost half the company. We interviewed customers, we interviewed partners in the industry, and said, hey, who is Nova? What makes Nova so unique? What do you think about when you think of Nova? And that's how we formulated mission, vision, values, and that was closely tied to the culture. And the culture is really, hardworking, fun place to work, where core values are instrumental to who we are, right? Just general character stuff that I think is good for everybody in everyday life, and especially at work. So around accountability, continuous improvement, never giving up, and valuing everybody that's in our ecosystem, right? It takes a village, it takes a company to be successful. It's not any one person that's any more special than anybody else here in this business. And it doesn't really matter what your role is, right? Like, whatever my role might be, from our painters and our machinists and our welders, if they're not doing their job, this business doesn't work well, right? If I'm not doing my job, this business doesn't work well. So that was the culture that we wanted to establish, was, hey, we're all equal. It all takes everybody here working hard, staying focused, and creating a positive, fun atmosphere that we enjoy coming to work, because we spend a lot of time here.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm smiling and nodding, one, because I love the story, and two, because all too often in my own corporate experience, and even with coaching some of my clients, is too many leaders don't ask questions. They feel like they have to create everything. For instance, there could be easily other stories, and I know there are, of people like you that come into a company and don't interview half of the employee base or talk to customers about what are we, who is Nova, what is our mission, vision, and values. And yet you, Doug, and Voight, or maybe you and Doug, came in and did exactly that, meaning you spoke to all these people to help them help you figure out what's on the wall. I think that's tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. And to give credit where credit is due, we hired a third-party agency to help us through this journey. So they laid it out for us. And Doug and I were fresh out of business school, so we were nodding with their plan and said, "Yep, we like these things. This looks good. Let's do it." So it was good. It was a great process, and these values and the mission and vision were established, let's see, probably about 5 years ago, and we continue to ingrain them in the culture. They're part of our daily lives here at Nova, and they're more true now than they ever have been. So I feel like we did a pretty good job on hitting the nail on the head here so far.
Yeah. All right. I'd love for you to expand a little bit about how do you keep the mission, vision, and values ingrained and part of day-to-day life at Nova?
Sure. So I'll start kind of high level, and then we'll kind of go down to the day-to-day. But from a high level, we give out awards quarterly to employees based on embodying and executing on these mission, vision, and values, and going above and beyond in leadership and embracing change and innovation and things of that nature too. So every corporate update, every all hands meeting we have, we're talking about these. And we literally have probably a 10-15 minute discussion on mission, vision, values that I lead every quarterly update. So it's going through that, and I ask questions to the entire company. All right, who's got an example of, somebody that, exhibited the mission and, from a day-to-day basis is doing really well embodying our mission. And somebody will say, well, hey, Jack, last week I saw him working on this very challenging project. He saw it through and didn't give up. Never give up is one of our core values, and he came across many different challenges and so on and so forth. And I'll ask somebody else and they'll say, hey, Paige did X, Y, and Z, and really thanked some of her team members and took accountability for a mistake that she made, and thanked some of her team members for pointing that out. So we go through that in the corporate update and do some sharing and do some awards based on that. And then one big piece of the culture here is that I should say that we've brought in over the last probably 3 years, probably about 2 years now is when we started it. But as a result, we're going through COVID, and we had all the unknowns of COVID going on. You had social unrest, political unrest in our country, a bunch of challenging things that, we don't really, we don't make it a point to talk about those things at work, and it's not like a big spotlight that we want to put on that stuff. But at the same point, people were bringing that tension to work, and there was a lot of emotional tension during those times because all the stress everybody was going through outside of work. So we said, how do we just kind of bring everybody back together, chill everybody out, and create some vulnerability and connection at work? So we actually started a short meditation process that all the business leaders can lead in their meetings, and then I do it at these quarterly updates as well. But it's a short meditation with the emphasis on appreciation, gratitude. So you go through this meditation, you pick a partner, and then you go through this process of sharing some appreciation with them, sharing some gratitude with them, and then vice versa, the roles are switched. And the whole point of that was, again, to help embody our culture of valuing everybody in this business. And hey, if we're valuing ourselves and taking care of ourselves, and we're creating an environment where people feel comfortable coming to work as themselves, not having to put on some wild persona that they think they need to be here at work, and people just get to be themselves. And then even if they're having a hard time, maybe we've created enough trust and enough connection that people will have somebody that they can talk to if they're going through a tough time here at work. So we've done that to kind of build upon this culture, and I think it's been great. We have fun. I travel a lot with our team. I spend a lot of time with the team, and I feel like it's a really upbeat place.
Man, I love that. Love it. So much talk. I mean, I remember however long ago was that Brene Brown was like the biggest thing on TED Talk.
I love Brene Brown.
Right? Our whole thing is about vulnerability and being the one to lead with it, and having that emotional wherewithal. So one of the things I am curious about is whether it's measurable or if it's more subjective from you as the CEO, what have you noticed that's different, or what's been the impact of having these meditations, mindfulness, accountability partners, leading with vulnerability and emotion? What have you noticed that's changed or it's different as a result of that?
I love doing this when we do this in front of the company. So there's probably about 60 of us in a room when we do this, and the immediate impact is so apparent because we'll be in a corporate update and everybody's like, oh great, it's a corporate update. Paul's going to talk to us about financials, mission, vision, values, what marketing's doing, what sales doing. We get to hear about operations, and then he's going to make us go through this meditation, appreciation, gratitude. And we're a blue collar to professional level, business, right? Very, very wide demographic of educations and skill sets. And the guys that are turning the wrenches and welding are like, oh, what's this crap? What's going on? And that's, just generalizing, not all of them. Some of them are very, very spiritual, very, forward progressive into the meditation and self-care type stuff. But anyway, we go through this exercise, And it goes from this kind of being a normal work corporate update to smiling, sometimes even tears, because people don't get compliments all the time, and they're not good at giving them all the time. And I raise my hand because I'm in that camp. I've been probably very hard on myself my entire life, so I really love doing this stuff because it helps me as well. But even in that moment, we go through that exercise, and it takes 10, 15 minutes to do it. And we go through that, the energy that creates is amazing. Literally the whole room is smiling, talking. You can just feel the positivity and the release of just joy, to be completely honest. And I see that kind of being pervasive throughout the business, and along with the other things we're doing with our culture, and that you just see everybody's very approachable. Everybody's, they wave, they smile, they say hi, and we're just. I feel like we're becoming, as we continue at this, and it's a continuous improvement process, right? Trying to get better at every day. I just feel like we become a more open, more inviting culture and group of folks here. So I see it day in, day out, and I think it is. I couldn't measure it, but I do think it is making a good impact.
It's a human connection. It's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
My previous guest for episode 2, Leslie from MRC Recruiting, she was talking about this idea of humanizing the job search. And here you are humanizing your workforce, your work, your company. I mean, it's wonderful. Wonderful. Good for you.
Yeah. This last corporate update, I was just curious, and we went through the exercise, and I just asked her, I said, I'm just curious because you guys groan and moan every time I do this, but then you're all smiling, and the energy totally changes in this room when we go through it. And I know, I lead the sales team here as well, so I do it on some of our sales calls, and they're like, oh, here we go again. But I said, I'm just curious, how many of you have told somebody that we do this here at Nova? And most, a bunch of people raised their hands, right? And I just asked them, I said, hey, why did you tell somebody? And what did they think? And they're like, I told them because I think it's kind of cool, and my wife was talking about something similar they did, and I'm like, all right, so you do think it's cool. You just moan and groan here when I do it. So we went through this whole thing, and everyone was like, oh yeah, I talked to people about it. And it's one of those things, and we have a lot of, I would say, kind of doers and engineer type mindsets, very logical thinkers, a lot of introverted folks. So it's different, right? I'm introverted myself, believe it or not. And yeah, it's easier for us to be quiet than to speak, right? That's just how introverts act. And so it's a challenging exercise to go through, but I think it's making a big difference.
I love it. So I'm a big fan of Patrick Lencioni, who's an author. You know him?
Yeah, very well.
Okay. So I think a lot about the 5 dysfunctions or the 5 behaviors of a team, or whatever the title is now. I feel like it's changed.
Yeah, 5 dysfunctions of a team. Well, yeah, it was 5 dysfunctions of a team when I read it probably 10 years ago.
And now I think he changed it to the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So either way, it's the same book. And one of his main themes in there, at least one that I take away, is the ability to engage in conflict. And a lot of people don't like the word conflict, so I think of it as debate. So the ability to engage in debate, have disagreement, not go hard on you as a person, but go hard on the thing we disagree with. And then after we've kind of flushed it out, a decision is made, and hopefully we've said our piece. And even if it's a decision that I didn't necessarily agree with, I can still get behind it. Now, I share that whole story, and you know Lencioni well enough too to hopefully remember that bit. I have to believe when people are seen and heard, have a chance to be vulnerable, connect on a human standpoint or a human connection, is that ability to debate. I have to assume and hope and believe, and I'm going to ask, does it make the opportunity of the possibility of debating with your coworkers a little easier?
I hope we're creating that environment here. That's the environment that I would like to see here. And I certainly want that across our employee base. And I think if we are creating an open, vulnerable space, more people bring their ideas to the table, They feel because they feel like they will be heard and can be heard and can bring it without being totally shut down. And we have some very talented people here. I would put our team up against anybody in the industry. And if we have very talented people that are not comfortable sharing their ideas, then we're half as capable as we could be. So creating that environment where people do get to debate, do get to challenge each other's ideas in a healthy way, right? It doesn't have to be personal. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be so anchored to your idea that your feelings get hurt. And it's tough, right? It's a learning process for everybody. And honestly, being able to be wrong is, I think, a good way to go about a debate, especially a debate that's, you're trying to come up with a solution or create something better or be innovative, is, go into it saying, hey, I'm open to somebody else having a better idea than I have. And I think that's a good starting point for conflict, is if we can go into that with a little bit of an open mind and hopefully think, all right, 2, 3, 4 heads are better than just one.
As you were talking, I was reminded of a saying that I wanted to mention a moment ago and it eluded me. It is, go hard on the topic, soft on the person.
Yeah, that's a great. I've never heard that, but I like that. I'm gonna shoplift that one from you.
I love it.
Go hard on the topic, soft on the person. I like that.
I can't take credit for it, but please borrow it by all means. All right, so I'm curious too. Now, our hope is that some of our listeners are other founders, CEOs, presidents. Our audience is hopefully also other Denver or Coloradoites. Maybe talk about some of the challenges that you're currently faced, either as the CEO or what your business is facing. I'm just curious what maybe 2 or 3 of those challenges are.
Sure. It's been, probably maybe 12 to 18 months manufacturing, and I would say really anybody that's selling capital equipment has been tough. And even manufacturing across the U.S. has been, if you look at the ISM PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index, like manufacturing in the U.S. has been in contraction for 12 to 18 months, closer to probably 18 months now. And I think that certainly shows in our business. Thankfully, we've had a pretty robust backlog, but at some point here, things need to pick up, right, for us to continue the growth that we want. So that's been a challenge for sure, is managing, I would say, the macroeconomic trends we're seeing across our industry, manufacturing as a whole, and even here in Colorado. So that's a challenge for sure. I think we get through probably another 3-4 months. It looks like the Fed might soften up on rates here. That will help the capital equipment manufacturers out there like us. Maybe we get some favorable tax law as well, depending on what happens on this election. And the forecasts that are out there from some of the economists in manufacturing is towards the end of this year, we're going to start to pick up, and in 2025, we're going to have really solid growth. So we'll see how that pans out. So that's a challenge we're dealing with day in, day out right now, is just managing the sales cycle, new bookings, and it's tough right now. So trying to keep the sales team's spirits up and keep them moving in the right direction, because it's a tough job when people aren't buying. Sales is the easiest, hardest job in the world. You make your own schedule, you have accountability for yourself, but when it's not going right, it's not going well, it's tough as it gets.
Yeah.
The challenge for myself is really just keeping myself fresh and keeping myself charged and getting recharged. And I kind of break it down to 4 aspects of my health. It's clearly the physical side of things, the mental side of things, the emotional or the heart, if you will, and the spiritual side of things. And really trying to make sure I'm keeping up with those 4 aspects of myself. And there's a variety of things I do to do that. And I like to work. I like to get focused, so I can easily get off track and not take care of myself, and then look at myself and go, holy cow, it's been a month and I've been so focused on this. I haven't been taking care of myself, and my energy levels are a little low. Maybe I'm irritable on things that I shouldn't be, and going, all right, I got to get back on track here. So that's an ongoing challenge for me that I'm constantly trying to get better at.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what are the things you do for the self-care?
Yeah, the physical side, the body side. I like to exercise. I love being here in Colorado. I mean, the mountains, the landscape that we get to play in here is just beautiful. So anything outside I love to do. You name it, from mountain biking, skiing, hiking, climbing, fishing, hunting, paddleboarding, I don't know, whatever, everything, anything, the trail running, hiking, whatever it might be, camping, backpacking. I love all the stuff that Colorado offers, so really enjoy that. So I try to do that on kind of the mental side, but also physical. I do a fair amount of yoga, and so you get a little bit of the mental aspect, a little bit of meditative kind of physical work in there, so that's helpful. I like to read fiction from time to time to just disconnect and give my brain a break. So that's kind of that intellectual health piece of going, okay, the mind likes to always be busy working on problems, solving things. We're worried about what's going to happen the next day, the day after. But if I can pick up some type of action adventure novel and get lost in that for for a flight or wherever I'm going, traveling, that's really helpful to just kind of let my mind get a little reprieve from the day-to-day grind. And then the spirit side of it, I'm not a super religious person, but I believe in universal power. We're all connected. There is something greater than ourselves out there, and that is driving this and pulling this all together and keeping this all going in the right spot, in the right direction, should I say. And just being grateful for the bigger things that are out there and the unknowns, and however all this magic came here, and just being grateful for the opportunity that I have.
I've really gotten into listening to books lately, and I say lately, like the last few years. For the first time in probably 5 years, I picked up a book and read it. It's called Cloud Cuckoo Land. Have you heard of this book?
Oh, wow. No.
It was actually really good. I liked it. Yeah, the author also wrote, it was called All the Things I Cannot See, or something like that. It was made into a movie. I wish I could tell you more. It was like a World War I or II movie, and it was about like a pirate radio guy, and I don't know. It was a good movie, but I heard the book was good too.
Wow, interesting. No, haven't heard about it. Sounds interesting.
I'll send you the title. We were talking just before that we're both mountain bikers. Yep. And so I just want to say that I love mountain biking. I bought a new bike this year. I got a Pivot Switchblade. What do you ride?
Wow, nice bike.
Yeah,
nice bike. I have a couple different bikes. I ride a Specialized Stump Jumper, is kind of the bigger bike that's a little bit more fun down than going up. And then I also have a Specialized what's their cross country bike? I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, the model.
I'm gonna draw a blank too. No idea.
Yeah,
FSR.
It's no, it's not the FSR. It's even a tighter, more racy suspension than the geometry than the FSR. It'll come to me in a second. I'm drawing a blank on it. Yeah. So those are the two bikes that I ride. Yeah, there was actually a race at what is that called? Bear Creek Lake Park.
Yep.
So they had a little race series going this summer. So I got in the last two races there. One in June and one in July.
Nice.
So that was a wake up call. I used to race, and man, I tell you what, I thought my heart was going to blow out of my chest. I was like, wow, I need to get in a little better shape for this. So that was fun.
Man, I am not a racer. I did the Firecracker 50 in Breckenridge, and I didn't ride the whole 50. I did a relay, and I was super proud of myself. I was conditioned, I rode well, and I was still like 108th out of 130 riders. And like that standing is not very impressive by any means. But I was happy with myself. I thought I rode pretty well.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, sometimes just finishing those things and just doing it is a huge accomplishment. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're tough races at altitude with the elevation. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I heard
I'll
that's a
put
pretty
it.
neat race.
It's cool. Yeah, I did a ski bum year in Breckenridge, and so I always feel like a connection to that town. I got a lot of friends there, and so much so that one of my buddies, Tony, has been in trail building for like 20 years in Breck or something like that. So a lot of the trails that we ride, he's had a literal hand in building, which is
Wow,
super cool.
that's amazing. I always think about the people that put in the work to build these trails, and just thankful that the awesome work that they do that we get to enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I should probably figure out how to give back a little bit there.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was in Austin, there was a group that you could volunteer with and go out and do some trail work. I haven't come across that yet here in Denver or in Colorado, but I'm sure it's out there.
It is. It is. I was supposed to, it's COMBA, so Colorado Mountain Bike Association.
Okay.
And, I get these hot hairs sometimes where, the greatest idea, I'm going to do all this stuff. And the last one, or one from last year, was to get involved with COMBA. And of course I didn't. Another great idea that went to the wayside.
Yeah, I just said it, and I'll see if I action that here in the next 12 months myself. But at least I do acknowledge that. I mean, they do awesome work. We have some great trails here in Colorado. We're lucky to have that.
We do indeed. All right, so as we conclude here, mission, vision, I can't say those two words together. Mission, vision, and values was a big part of what you established when you came in. You
Okay.
live it, breathe it, day to day, month to month. The mental wellness or the mental well-being that you've established,
Right.
and taking care of yourself. Those are the big four things that I heard from how you're thriving and growing yourself and growing your business.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary, Darren.
All right. Any parting thoughts? Any words of wisdom you want to impart before we say goodbye?
I would say the one thing that I would share that has been interesting for our business is we come across challenging applications all the time, and sometimes you get them right the first time, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to get them right, and I'm in a few different business groups, and the word failure comes up from time to time. And I think what I'd like to part with is that, like, life is a culmination of failures that turn into successes to me. It's, failure doesn't have to be a scary word, and it can be a good thing, right? Fail fast, learn quickly, and let's not make those same failures or mistakes again. And that would be my parting word. Is that's something else we've tried to ingrain here and get everybody on board, is that it's okay to make mistakes. Let it be part of our culture. Let's learn from them. Let's grow from them quickly. And, we don't have to be afraid of or get bogged down in trying to make things perfect the first time. Let's just get them moving and move the company along at a faster pace than trying to make it perfect and being so afraid of failure and making mistakes. So those are my parting thoughts. Thank you for asking.
I love. Well, it's like prototyping, isn't it? Isn't that kind of like one of the essentials of prototyping?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do, being in packaging automation, factory automation, there's a lot of prototyping. I'd say 80% of our business is standard, sometimes, maybe 90%, but that 10, 20% is we go, okay, hey, we've done this 100 times, but your factory is a little bit different, and this customer's a little bit different, and we got to tweak this and this. This is being done for the first time for us. So it's a little bit of prototyping, and you try to manage that risk. So, we're as a company not at a ton of risk, and the customer's not at a ton of risk.
Great parting thoughts, sir. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Paul Wegman, CEO of Nova Automation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Darren. Great to catch up. Talk to you soon.
Same here. Take care.